was grooming her from the age of, it started at about the age of 1. When I was the punisher, I was the one who decided punishment over the children. I was the one who spanked the children. I was the one who punished the children. And if I seen the children doing anything wrong, even bickering and arguing amongst themselves, I would whip them and tell them, you know, just kids playing. I would tell myself, well, she's not going to be like that. She is going to be the perfect mate. And I told myself that. And I didn't molest her then.
The perfect mate.
The perfect mate. I was grooming her to fit me. To fit me.
At what age? I
started at about a year. I started grooming her, whooping her, and telling her this, to do this, not do that. Then when I molested her at 18 months old. And I thought to myself, I said, well, this is going to be easy. This is going to be easy. I'm going to have my own child, my own stepdaughter, which is really not blood related to me. And I'm telling myself these things, it's not blood related to me. When she grows up to be 14, 15 years old, I will have the perfect sexual mate for sexual purposes. Anything else didn't matter. It was sex. That was it. I didn't care about, really, honestly, I didn't love the child. I wanted the child for my own purposes.
I took him to the hospital on a number of different occasions. Recall one occasion I beat him up very bad. And I took him to the hospital and they asked me what happened, and I told them that he fell down a flight of stairs and my wife was with me. And we didn't have no stairs in the house. My wife stood there and looked at me like, you know, are you crazy? My son said, we don't have stairs. And the nurse told my son to be quiet, that she's not talking to him, she's talking to me. And she asked me to just go ahead and continue relaying, giving her the information. And I continued to tell her that he had fallen down a flight of stairs at home, bumped into the wall and hit the rail. She asked how many stairs it was. I told her it was about 10 or 12 stairs that he had fallen down. And that's how he got himself hurt and bruised up. And she said, okay, and that's the way the hospital report went. It was reported only to my wife 6 or 7, well, I take it back, it was reported to my wife and my parents probably 6 or 7 different times. And there was actually one instance where I went to the police station myself to turn myself in. And the officer at the desk told me to go home and sleep off my drunk. And I left. If it wasn't for the fact that my landlord had found some pornographic pictures of my son in the attic of the home where we were living, I would probably still be molesting.
Why wasn't your son believed?
I made up stories about him, and there was a lot of belief that the adults were to be believed and stepchildren weren't, that this was a problem with him and I not getting along. And that's a lot of the reason that people didn't believe what was happening, didn't believe him. I think general society is easy to fool. Extremely easy to fool. And I say that because of how long I have fooled society and how long I've fooled people. I've been fooling people for well over 25 years. And people have believed what I told them.
In this period of time, when you said you were a molesting monster at home, what were you like in terms of controlling people, and in terms of violence? What was really going on in your house that people didn't know about?
What people didn't know about going on in my home was a lot of extreme violence. Beating my son up, beating my wife up If my wife wouldn't have sex with me when I wanted it, where I or how I wanted it, I would beat her up and then rape her after I'd beat her. I had beaten my son into unconsciousness a number of times. And then I would keep him, sometimes kept locked up in the house until his bruises healed up. Keep him away from school, keeping him away from his friends. Nobody around me knew what I was doing. Nobody around my community knew that I was such a violent individual in the home. If they did, they never said anything. But I don't believe they ever knew, because I was completely and totally different outside of the house once I left the home.
The victim was 23 years old. She was a housewife. I gained access to the home knowing that there was a motorcycle there for sale, so I went there during the daytime knowing she would be home. The husband would be at work. I had done a job there 2 months prior, and knowing that, I knew a lot about them, doing the job for them. I knocked on the front door, and she answered the door, and I said I came to see about the motorcycle for sale. I looked for signs of recognition. She didn't seem to recognize me. I had had a beard before and I was shaved, and she told me to step around back on the patio that was around there, and I walked around there, and she met me out there, and the back door was open, and she turned around, turned her back to me to take the cover off the motorcycle, and that's when I grabbed her. Well, I grabbed her from behind, and in my haste I dropped the knife that I had in my hand. I was going to use that as a scare tactic because it didn't fit my MO. I had convinced myself that as long as I don't harm this person, there's no real harm done. And so she backed against me, kicked back against me, and I fell. But I wouldn't let her go. I held on to her and I threw her down with me, and we fell through the back door into the living room. And that's when I got on top of her. I wrestled her down, put my hand over her mouth and told her not to scream, that I was going to let her up, but if she did scream, I'd kill her. I used fear as a weapon. I knew already that as long as she was afraid that I would kill her, even though I wouldn't, she would do what I told her to, and she did. And I then forced her into her bedroom. I raped her in the vagina 3 times, 3 different times. I raped her in the mouth with my penis once. I raped her in the anus with my finger once. And afterward, I asked her if she had a knife, and she said yes, and she was real scared at that point. I could see that she thought I was probably going to kill her. She had a child in the house, 18-month-old boy. I made her put him to bed prior to all of this in his bedroom, and he slept. I forced her in the kitchen, made her get out the butcher knife, and she handed it to me, and I said, no, it's not for me, that's for you. I want you to stab me with that knife. And I grabbed the blade and put the point of it right in my solar plexus, beneath my sternum. I said, I want you to push it real hard, and when I close my eyes. And so she started crying, and she said that she couldn't do that, she couldn't kill me. It wasn't in her to kill someone. And then I got angry because I had planned on suicide that day. And I was angry because she wouldn't do it, and I didn't have the courage to do it myself. And so I screamed at her, and I told her, well, you'd better do it, because if you don't, I'm going to use it on you. And I thought I could scare her into doing it. She still wouldn't do it. Her baby started crying. She left, went and got him, came back in the room, and then I broke down and cried. I was crying for myself. I was feeling sorry for me. I wasn't even thinking about her.
No boundaries for me. No place was off limits. No time was off limits. And no set of circumstances was off limits. At any time that I saw an opportunity to get what I wanted, which was to rape or molest, I took advantage of that. There were times that I raped in a car with the parents in the front seat, me in the back seat with the children. The child would
would feel such a bond of trust that the child would decide, okay, I'd like to go to sleep. I'd manipulate the child and lay him across the seat and molest the child with my hand on his penis, by forcing my hand on his penis while the parents were in the front seat. There were other times that I molested and raped while at work, where I simply manipulated the child into coming into my office, and I just very simply locked the door and proceeded to do what I wanted to do, which was to rape the child. My nephew, I raped him for a period of 9 years. Raped and molested him for a period of over 9 years. And very few cases did I rape him in which no one was in the house. I have 11 male rape victims. I have one female rape victim. And I have approximately 1,250 male molest victims.